Hello cadets, good evening. Welcome for today's session. So yesterday we have to cancel the session due to unavoidable conditions, circumstances. Hope you can listen to me. Okay, fine, thank you. So we'll start the session by taking the report. So flight is senior. What is the strength?
Jai Hind, sir.
Jai
There are
Hind.
39 of them.
39 out of
62.
oh. Flight B.
Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind.
Total 22 are present out of 68, sir.
Out of 60.
8.
Flight C.
Jain, sir.
Jai Hind.
22 are present out of 35, sir.
Very good. No doubt. Flight C is always very sincere. Okay. So let others keep on joining the session. So we will continue with this. So today we are going to talk about the airmanship and the circuit rules and the other aerodrome rules and regulations. So I'll be presenting my screen. Just let me know if the screen is visible to you. Is the screen visible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh, fine. So I'll start with the circuit rules. So circuit is basically a path that is followed near to the aerodrome. Okay, so there are two types of circuits. So one is the left circuit and the other one is the right circuit. So here what you are seeing, the upper portion of here is the left circuit. So this is the approach point. So it touches down here the aircraft, or it may take off from here, and then the first left turn which it takes here, the aircraft, so this we call it as the crosswind. So this is a perpendicular turn towards the left. If the ATC tells the aircraft to have a left circuit or the right circuit, then the aircraft is supposed to follow. Or sometimes what happens is that the ATC will give an option, which are the circuit, which circuit to be option, like option will be given to the pilot, like whether he wants to go for the right circuit or left circuit. Then based on his choice, the ATC will confirm that aircraft can go either left circuit or the right circuit. So if the aircraft is basically, if it is going for far distinct other aerodrome, then what happens? It basically takes off and exit that aerodrome, like this. These two aircrafts which are seen here. So what happens? The aircraft take off here and it will exit that aerodrome and get in contact with the other aerodrome on the way. But if this aircraft, like our virus is there, then our aircraft, which is virus, we will be in that particular aerodrome area itself. So it will be either in the right circuit or in the left circuit. So this is the left circuit. So the first, after takeoff, so the first left turn here, we call it as a crosswind. And then maybe after a quarter mile, then one more left turn towards it. So we'll enter into the downwind. So here in the downwind, what happens is that the wind and the flying direction of the aircraft will be in the same direction. It will be in the same direction. That is why it is called as the downwind. And then finally, again it enters. If it wants to land, then the aircraft will complete the runway parallel to it and go a quarter mile ahead. And after going quarter mile ahead, then it will take one more left turn to it. So this turn we call it as the base leg, which is again the distance of this base leg supposed to be a minimum of quarter mile. And then if it's supposed to land, then it comes one more left turn. And then again, from this threshold point, we have studied this. This is the threshold point. Sorry. So from the threshold point, before the threshold point, at least the aircraft should be a quarter mile distance so that it can align itself to the center of the runway, and then this final path we call it as the final approach. And then once the aircraft wants to land it, it takes the permission from the ATC and enter into this final approach and lands the aircraft. And likewise, the same thing follows here. You should always know that the aircraft will take off in the upwind direction. It is not in the downwind. So there are terminologies. There are few terminologies that we need to understand here. So the first one is the upwind. The second one, the upwind is a direction. Now, for example, if this is the runway, this is a center line marking, and this is our aircraft, which is here. Okay, it is on the ground at present. So now the air direction is opposite to the aircraft. So in this direction, the aircraft will take off. So at this, it will take off. So this we call it as the upwind direction. And after reaching certain altitude, maybe 800 feet or 1000 feet, then what happens? It will take the left turn. So this we call it as crosswind. This we call it as the crosswind direction. Why crosswind? Because the air is flowing in this direction, which is perpendicular to this direction of the aircraft. So now this is the direction of the aircraft, which it is flying. Like this. An aircraft is flying and the air direction is like this. It is perpendicular. So that is why it is called as the crosswind. And after going a minimum of a quarter mile, then what happens? Again, it will take a left turn. And now the direction of this air and the direction of this aircraft both are in the same direction. So this is called as the downwind direction. And then it continues parallel to the runway. And once it goes again a quarter mile away from the runway, then it will take one more left turn, and this is called as the baseline. And when it comes here and takes one more final turn, and this we call it as the approach. And this distance from the threshold to this, at least it should be quarter mile distance to align the aircraft itself with the center of the runway. So whatever this here it is written, so that is the right circuit. Sorry, it is the left circuit. Now if you write the same thing on the right circuit, then let us write with the right circuit. And what happens? This is the runway. This is the center line. Again, our aircraft is here. Then this is the flow of assuming that the air is coming in this direction. And now the aircraft will take off after reaching certain height. So this is the upwind direction again. And after that, it will take the right turn. So the same procedure is followed. After going quarter mile, it will take right turn. So this is again, we call it as the crosswind direction. And after reaching certain distance, here, so it continues aircraft, and it will take one more turn. So this is called as a downwind, and the aircraft will continue in this direction, which is opposite to the parallel to the runway, but in the opposite direction to the upwind. Then it continues, and then it will take one more turn. And this we call it as the base leg. And after completing the base leg, when it takes a final right turn, so this we call it as the approach. And it takes the permission of ATC, and then it will enter into the airfield. So this is the normal procedure that is followed. Now there are two things that you can see here. One is called the non-transgression zone and segmented circle. So non-transgression zone means if there are two parallel runways or three parallel runways, then there are certain restrictions on parallel approach. Now, for example, if the two aircrafts are approaching at the same time, whether it is permitted or it should not be permitted. So what are the rules that aircraft or the aerodrome supposed to follow? Now, for example, we have the two runways here, and the two parallel runways. And assuming that the two aircrafts are approaching at the same time, here as well as here. So it will be marked as, this will be marked as what? So this will be marked as right, and this will be marked as left. Because as you know, the designations, the magnetic, there is a airfield, the marking will be there with certain directions. So this will be, say, assume it is marked as, say, 18, and this is also marked as 18, but it is marked as right as well as left, so that the aircraft is very clear where in which runway it should take it. So like this. So now whether both the aircrafts are permitted to land at the same time. So here the condition is that if the center line to center line of this runway, if it is, say, the distance is greater than 9,000 feet, then there is both the aircrafts can touch down, or both the aircrafts are permitted to land without any restrictions. So that I would like to show more information here. So there are a lot of restrictions of that. See, when parallel runway, center line with a separation with more than 9,000 feet, no specific restrictions are imposed on simultaneous approach. So that is the important point. If it is less than that, then what are the restrictions? So there are different types of approaches that are followed. One is the simultaneous parallel dependent approach. Next is the simultaneous independent approach, and simultaneous close parallel PRP approach. So each of these are explained here with the different situations. So this is the description of the parallel approach which is shown here. So whatever the diagram I have written, the same thing is here, and this is mentioned as a no transgression zone, which is mentioned here. So in the parallel dependent approach, what happens is that the aircrafts are supposed to maintain a distance of diagonal separation. So this, hope you can see this and you can make out. There is the aircrafts. One aircraft is little ahead and another aircraft is slightly behind, and they are diagonally separated. This is the one runway, maybe right runway, and this is the left runway. And you can see here, they are diagonally separated. So this is the approach which is followed by parallel dependent approach. And if the distance between the two parallel runways is separated between 4,300 to 9,000 feet, then independent approach is followed. And the dependent approach is followed if the distance between the two parallel runways 2,500 feet to 9,000 feet. If this is the distance, then that is followed. Otherwise, the independent approach is followed. So independent approach you can see here. So where is the independent approach? Let me get to another window so that you can see this. Yeah, if you can see this is the independent approach here. So what happens, the black strip here, that is your runway, and this is the no transgression zone in the center. And here there are various instrument landing systems and other things are assisting this, and interceptors are there assisting the aircraft to land. So this is the normally the method which is followed. So the aircraft which is coming from the left circuit, this is from the right circuit, and the another aircraft is entering from the left circuit, entering this parallel runways. So hope at least you got some basic idea about this approaches. Okay. And it's not only that. Now, for example, if an aircraft is flying from one aerodrome to another aerodrome, it cannot directly come and land it, or it cannot directly come into the final approach and land it. So first it has to enter into the circuit. So where does the aircraft enter into the circuit? So for example, if the aircraft is say coming from somewhere in this direction and it enters into the left circuit. So it enters the left circuit and completes the downwind, enters into the base leg and takes the permission from ATC. And once the ATC says, yeah, you are clear to land, then what happens? It will come to the final approach and it will touch down. And if the aircraft is coming in the other direction, say maybe somewhere in the, say, if we take the magnetic true north, if we consider this, this upside is the magnetic 0, then this is somewhere around, say if it is entering from 90 to 180 degrees somewhere in the magnetic course, then it enters the right circuit and enters the downwind and enters base leg and so on. There is one more terminology here which is written as the segmented circle. So the segmented circle is basically, it helps the pilot to indicate in which direction the aircraft is supposed to land. Because as we know, there is a runway, the aircraft can be land either in this direction or it can land in this direction. So for more information, I will show you some additional information. So I hope you can see from this diagram. Let me maximize this diagram. You all can see the screen? Cadets?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
fine. So now, if you can see from this diagram, there are basically three components here. So one is the airfield indication, one is the wind direction, and there is one more thing that is called as traffic pattern indicator. So basically it is like this. So there will be a center circle, and in the center circle there will be a wind cone which shows the direction of the wind. So cone direction shows the downwind and opposite to that is the upwind. And the marking like this, which represents the runway, landing runway. So if the wind is coming in this direction, so it means we are supposed to land in the upwind direction. So it means we have to land in this direction. And this landing runway strip indicator, it is indicated by these two markings, and the traffic pattern is indicated by these two markings. Okay. So if you see this is the true north, then wind is coming in this direction. So it means we can land in, these are the landing indicators, and this is the traffic indicators. So there is a small video I played very quickly. We'll finish off. Just let me know if you can listen the audio or not. Can you listen the audio?
No, sir.
In this video, we're going to discuss a very common question.
I think now it is audible.
How to
Yes, sir.
interpret a segmented circle. Many new pilots find this concept confusing at first, but if you break it down into its component parts, it's really pretty simple. A segmented circle is a visual indicator that provides traffic pattern information to pilots at airports without a control tower. As you fly over an airport, you will be able to see the segmented circle on the ground and determine the correct runway to land on and the correct traffic pattern. Let's take a look at the components of a segmented circle. A segmented circle consists of a runway complex, a wind direction indicator, and the traffic pattern indicators. There are no runway numbers depicted, but the orientation of the segmented circle will closely match the orientation of the actual runways. This north-south runway could be runway 1836, 1735, or 1 and 19, depending on what runways the airport actually has. During your knowledge exam, you can determine the correct runway numbers from the information given in the answer choices. We will call this runway 1836. The L-shaped symbols around the circle determine the direction of turns to a particular runway. The long leg of each L is the landing strip indicator and represents the approach end or final leg to a runway. The short leg of each L is the traffic pattern indicator and represents the base leg. From this, you can determine whether a left or right turn needs to be made from base to final, which corresponds with left or right traffic respectively. But how do you know which runway you should land on? That depends on the wind direction, as you always want to take off and land into the wind. Check the wind cone to see where the wind is coming from. If the wind is coming from 340 degrees, you want to land on whatever runway is most closely aligned with 340 degrees. In this case, we want to land on runway 36, since that will give us the most direct headwind. Now, let's look at an airport with multiple runways. Here, the segmented circle is indicating a north-south runway with a northeast-southwest runway.
Now, if you see here, there are two markings. So it means the aircraft can enter into the two runways, which indicating the base leg and the final approach on the either side. So one is with respect to this and other is with respect to this.
Since the wind is coming from the east, or 090 degrees, which runway do you want to land on? Again, we want to land into the wind, so we would land on the runway with the most easterly heading, which is runway 5. Now, consider whether you should fly left or right traffic. Take a look at the traffic pattern indicators. Here, it shows the base to final turn will be to the left, so we need to make left traffic with landing on this runway. Remember, the runway numbers may not be labeled on your knowledge test. You'll be expected to use your resource management skills to derive the answer from the available choices.
Okay, hope you got some idea about this. What is the segmented circle? The segmented circle basically it helps in landing, reaching the final approach, or to the land the aircraft. So either through a right circuit or to the left circuit, that is indicated by that L shape. Okay, so if it is L shape here, which is the first one, so it means it is the it's a right circuit, otherwise it's the left circuit. Now, what are the rules and regulations of the circuit? So the rules and regulations of the circuit are: the circuit is the airspace extended to 3,000 feet above airfield elevation on the radius of 18,000 feet. So it means an aircraft which is in the circuit, it has to be at an altitude with respect to that airfield or that aerodrome with an altitude of 3,000 feet. And it can be around that aerodrome with a radius of 18,000 feet. And when the aircraft is in the circuit, then there are a lot of things that pilot has to be continuously monitoring. So one is that the aircraft has to continuously look at the surroundings or the vicinity, so that it is not colliding with other aircraft or other aircraft is entering into the circuit. So all these things, a pilot has to continuously monitor it and confirm that avoids the traffic. And the pilot has to continuously in touch with the aerodrome with RT frequencies, whatever the frequencies that is allocated, that is receiver and transmission frequencies. And the aircraft should be in the visibility of that aerodrome or the ATC. So these are the basic rules. And a pattern for traffic movement has been established for use at the aerodrome, and it is called the traffic circuit, and it expedites and separates aeroplanes using same aerodrome. It means the 2-3 aircrafts cannot be in the same circuit. Then what happens? It is very near and happens that the accident may take place. So it is a responsibility of every pilot for safety and efficiency to learn and follow the proper traffic patterns when coming into land at the aerodrome. So these are definitions of same thing which we have discussed. The upwind is the area on opposite side of the landing runway. As I told you before, the upwind is the opposite to the aircraft. So that is nothing but the landing area itself, landing runway that we can call. And downwind is in the same direction which the aircraft flies, and approach should be made into this area at or above the circuit height. So the circuit joining crosswind is a corridor laying within the airspace between the center of the landing runway and its upwind end, linking the upwind side and the downwind side. So basic definition of what is the crosswind is this. So crosswind is the the connection between the upwind and the downwind leg. So that is what it is. Now downwind leg is a flight path opposite to the direction of the landing, which is parallel to and at a sufficient distance from the landing runway to permit a standard rate of 1 turn to the baseline. So as I told you that for approach end of the landing runway to permit at least a quarter mile final approach distance should be maintained. Okay. So now let us understand the various terminologies here. So controlled airspace. In the controlled airspace, there is air route, airways, control areas, and the control zones. So most importantly, we are interested in the control areas and the control zone. Okay. So control area and control zone. So what is the difference between the control area and the control zone? Let me show you one diagram here to make you understand between control area and control zone. So before that, there is something called flight information region. So the flight information region is the largest geographical division of airspace is into the flight information region, which broadly follows into national boundaries. So this is subdivided as a control area and control zone. Now, if you look into this diagram here, now this is your ATC, air traffic control. This is the runway, and at an altitude of say 2,000 feet is what from this aerodrome reference point. The altitude of 2,000 feet, what we call is the control zone, and above that is the control area. So control area is where the aircrafts are flying, but they are not going to land at this aerodrome. They are just passing through that aerodrome. So those aircrafts will be in the area of the that area we call it as a control area. Okay, and ATC of that aerodrome gives the necessary information to those aircrafts which are flying through that aerodrome but not landing at that aerodrome. And the aircraft which are coming to land that aerodrome or the airfield, so that will come from the control area and enter into the control zone and it will land. So here the various distribution of the areas which is shown in the 3D diagram. Okay. So the control area restriction is that the aircraft can fly at a minimum altitude of 7,000 feet above that aerodrome ground level, but not below that. So that is the restriction. So it means if any aircraft is flying through that aerodrome in the controlled area, so it can pass through that area with a minimum altitude of 700 feet, but not less than that. So whereas the control zone is the aircraft which are coming for, landing, which are entering into the control zone, and it takes the permission of ITC. So the flight may be in IFR or VFR regulations. Okay. Let us come back to our stream. So hope you understood this. The same thing is mentioned here. So controlled area is nothing but an airspace of the defined dimensions extended upwards from specified limit above the earth. So as we have seen in that article, so it is mentioned as the minimum height the aircraft should fly is 700 feet, within which the control service is provided to the control flights. And the control zone is the area where has a defined dimension extended upward from the surface of the earth to a specified upper limits within which the air traffic control service is provided to the control flights. And air traffic zone is again the zone which is meant to provide the safety of the aerodrome by maintaining the right traffic. Now, the circuit rule says that the principal difference is that the pilot must establish a communication with the ground tower that we already discussed, and the pilot must establish and maintain the radio communications with the control tower prior to the operating within the control zone. It means if the aircraft is in the control area and if it is entering into control zone, so before 5 minutes entering of that, it has to take the permission of that ATC that this aircraft or that aircraft wants to enter into the control zone for landing. So that is what it is written here. And if the control zone is class B or class C airspace, the appropriate clearance must be received from the controlling agency prior to entry into the classified airspace. We will talk about this Class B and Class C airspace later. And the tower controller will advise the runway in use, wind directions and speed and whatever the altimeter settings and everything, because when the aircraft is flying in the control area, it is flying with a QFE readings, that is with a mean sea level altitude. Then the value which is set in that altimeter is normally standard is 1013 millimar. But when it is entering into the control zone, then the elevation of that aerofield will be somewhere varying with respect to the mean sea level. It will not same everywhere. So then that air traffic controller has to give these altimeter settings so that it can turn into QNH of that particular aerodrome settings, and then it can land on them. So the aircraft must have landed clearance, or the pilot must have the landing clearance prior to the landing. So that is what is mentioned here. And after landing, the pilot should exit the runway as soon as possible by taking the nearest taxi strip. And some of the largest control airports, more facilities, there are meant to be more facilities. So the runway and weather information is provided by ATIS, Automatic Terminal Information Center. And before going to runway in some complex airports, so where there is a huge traffic, then there are sections are divided. So first he has to take permission from the ground control by changing the frequency of the radio, because the radio operating frequency in airport is not same. ATC operates with the different frequencies of transmission and reception, and the ground traffic controller also follows a different frequencies. So here the taxi instructions. So the pilot has to take, if it is intended to take off, and the pilot must contact the ground control for taxi instructions before starting up towards the active runway. So the ground control will give instructions on how to proceed to the runway or which taxiway has to be taken at the frequency. Then he will switch to the different frequency and he will talk to the ATC and ask for the clearance so that it can take off. Okay, so this is about the air traffic control. So before winding up this session, I want to show you something interesting that I got is the Manual of Air Traffic Services, which is for Indian Navigation System. This is from the Airport Authority of India, AAI, which is designed. So I'll give this manual. If you are interested, you can just go through it. This is published in 2015. After that, if you can get the latest one, it is fine. We'll just go through it once. So this is the preferences, descriptions, manuals. Okay. So this is all explained, formats. All the terminologies are explained here. So what is given in your textbook of NCCs may not be that clear as what is mentioned here. So I suggest you to read the definitions from this for airmanship. So aerodrome traffic. So very clear definitions are given here. Aerodrome traffic zone. There are many more terminologies you can omit which is not required and read it which is required. So these are all the terminologies. Our interesting part comes from chapter 4. So let me slowly navigate to that. Chapter 4. So just now we discussed about no transgression zone. So here also it is mentioned, all these things. Restricted area, runway, VFR, flight rules. You can just go through it and read it like story. So this is not important for us. Chapter 3 is not important. Yeah. So these are the airspace boundaries. Yeah, this you can see. So airspace boundary, how it is divided. So this is comes under this entire region comes under RRC Delhi. This is say RRC Mumbai. This is RRC Chennai. This is radio control center. So these are the radio control centers which comes under this, which is shown here. And let us go to chapter 4. Chapter 4 onwards, our interesting things will start. So these are the various divisions. In case of incident takes place, then who will take the responsibility or who will do the investigations. All these things are mentioned here. And yes. So coming to chapter 4, so air traffic services. So very clear definitions are given. What is the objective of air traffic service? Very clearly it is given what is the air traffic control services, area control services, approach control services, aerodrome control services. These are all different services. Okay. So that you can read. And I told you that class A, class B, class C, we will discuss it. So the airspace has been segregated. It means the ATC airspace is classified and designated accordingly. So class A means the flights with IFR only permitted. So that is the airspace where whether it is a class A airspace or class B or class C, it means that it is the aerospace where only instrument flight rules flights are permitted. So all flights are provided with air traffic control service and separated with each other. Now class B means here the aircrafts which are following IFR rules as well as the VFR rules also permitted. Both of them are permitted. And it is supported by air traffic control services. Class C is IFR and VFR are permitted. All flights are permitted with air traffic control services, and the IFR flights are separated from other IFR flights and from VFR flights. So these are different conditions actually, which are mentioned when we are flying at that particular area. Okay, so it's very interesting. Can just go through it. So, you can learn a lot of things. What is ascending speed, descending speed, what is the vertical separation, everything comes under this. Now if you can see here, so this is what I was talking about. So class A, the type of provided is IFR, just now we have seen, and the separation is all aircrafts. Okay, it should maintain the separation of all aircrafts, and what type of radio communication it should follow. So continuous two-way radio communication, subject to ATC of flights, a lot of things are mentioned. And coming to chapter 5, it is the separation method and minimum. What is the minimum separation that aircraft should follow? What is the vertical separation? What is the horizontal separation? All these things are mentioned. And how it's supposed to join that circuit or the the designated points with diagrams, and the how the aircraft. And see, this our Indian system is following GNSS, the Gagan system, which is designed by ISRO, Global Navigation Satellite Service. It is called. It is developed by an Indian ISRO organization. So all these information. So the separation, if it is coming in the opposite direction, what it's supposed to do, what is the minimum distance in the crosswind direction. It's very interesting. Okay, if you have any queries, you can ask. This is the overtaking. This we already discussed in the previous sessions. How to overtake at what angle. Okay, and one more important thing is this. The wake turbulence which is created. For example, if any aircraft which takes off, so behind that there is a turbulence which is created by this tip of these wings, and the aircraft which is very near to that flying, it creates a turbulence for it. So a minimum separation has to be maintained. So that is what it is explained here. So if there are two runways and then again the turbulence impact, everything is explained here. So you see there's the turbulence effect. Basically, this turbulence comes into effect during the touchdown and takeoff. And next chapter 6, separation of Islam. Okay, so I'll stop at this point. If you have any queries, you can ask. Cadets, are you following? Okay. So if there are no queries, then we'll wind up our session. So thank you for joining this session.